Do you find yourself overwhelmed by the thought of making a career transition? I've been there and I understand the challenges you face. That's why I created the Career Compass, the ultimate guide for high achieving corporate women to make career transitions with ease. The Career Compass breaks down the decision making process into 5 clear steps, helping you make savvy, empowered career decisions. Head over to KarenFreeland.com/career-compass right now and download this invaluable resource. It's completely free and will get you on the path to a more fulfilling career. Go to KarenFreeland.com/career-compass now. Welcome to Rock Your Reinvention, where I help high achieving career women like you get unstuck, make your corporate exit strategy, and successfully transition to your next chapter. Hi, I'm your host, Karen Freeland, a certified life coach and corporate exit strategist. Whether you want to start a business, become a speaker, or something else, I'm here to give you the tools and strategies to shift your mindset, build your confidence, and take bold actions so you can rock your reinvention. Ready? Let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rock Your Reinvention. I have a super special guest with us today. We met on the internet. Isn't that so fascinating? So Instagram, we both have a friend who is an author, and we met through her and just got to know each other. And I knew right away that I needed to bring her and her message on Rock Your Reinvention. So welcome to the show, Cindy.
Thank you. Grateful to be here.
Yeah, all the way from Canada. So,
Yeah.
Cindy Heath is an RN psychotherapist with over 30 years in the healthcare field. She's an author and an energy and consciousness expert. Her deep understanding of the mind, body, and spirit through her own seeking, studying, and research has uncovered a path to reprogram maladaptive energetic patterns that develop from the traumas of life. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you're here because I know we got some people listening right now who could really use some help releasing some trauma.
Well, couldn't we all? I
Yeah.
say, I mean, we're living in a world that's a little traumatic right now on top of everything.
Yes. And I think that that is probably what's blocking some people from releasing their trauma is they don't even acknowledge they've got trauma.
Exactly. And the thing is that we all do.
Hmm.
And to know where you are with your levels of trauma, the traumas that piled up, because it's not just the world, it's your personal on top of it. So everyone needs to do their own evaluation of where they are.
So in Rock Your Reinvention, we love to explore also women's journeys and the pivots that they've made. And you started out as a nurse.
Yes,
So
I did.
what made you get into the coaching field and become an energy healer? Can you share a little bit about this journey and what that path looked like for you?
Yes. Ultimately, I don't consider myself an energy healer,
Oh, okay.
because, and it's totally fine. I just wanted to actually bring that up. I thought it was a
Yeah.
good point because at some point I maybe did, but never in the sense of just like I'm healing people with
Mhm.
myself. I feel what the work that I do is really to empower people to heal themselves and be their own therapist, is really what
Mhm.
I do, because all of us have energy in and around us that we could utilize. It's not just me. It's just that I happen to know, so I can help to guide and teach other people to know so that they can heal themselves. So I did begin in the hospital. I worked in the hospital for 15 years. I worked in palliative care and family medicine. And nursing in itself is really involves a lot of counseling, especially palliative care, where you're dealing with
Mm.
terminal illnesses. And it was always a part of my nursing that I really, really loved. So I left the hospital after 15 years, went back to get my degree because I had a diploma at the time. You can no longer get a diploma in nursing. It's only a degree. So I went back, got my degree, taught in nursing, which was a really kind of profound experience because it really kind of tied me tighter to, therapeutic relationship, the principles that
Mm.
ground the practice. If you can build a therapeutic relationship, you can counsel. And one of the theories that I was guided with, and I absolutely loved it. And of all the theories, this was the one that I guided my work in, was Watson's theory of caring. She was ahead of her time, which I love. And she believed that there was an energy transference between people that could happen, that could be healing. So it's kind of the foundation of that theory. So I went with it, loved it, obviously understood energy already at that time of my life. So I added that to kind of like my approach. I taught for a while, then I left and I decided that I wanted to empower women. I was going to have my own practice. And that really led to the writing of my book. My book
Mhm.
was going to be like a million ways in which women could just like really empower themselves and empower their wellness overall. When I was editing the book, there was a theme of energy that came out. So, like Rumi says, whatever you seek seeks you.
Yep.
As I was in the depth of writing it, I literally like things kind of like came to me, which included the yogic science, which I kind of now have added as well to my approach. So the mindfulness, which is really, really important. So that's kind of the journey of really where I got to the point. When I was in school as well, every elective that I could take was psychology. So I
Mm.
knew that there was something, why do I love this? I had a teacher that literally offered me an opportunity to counsel in the student council at the Western University, which was just unheard of. So she saw that within me, and I saw it within myself that I had an ability
Yeah.
to do that. So that's kind of the journey.
That's so awesome because it sounds very organic to me, right? Like you just really trusted your intuition. You're like leaned into the things that were exciting or interesting to you. And I think so often that that's where women get hung up. We actually know deep down exactly what we
Yes.
want and what we enjoy, but we've got these beliefs around them or this idea that, well, that's not really for me because I didn't go to school for that, or that's,
Yeah.
whatever. They come up with all these reasons why they can't follow their passion. And it's just mind blowing
Yeah.
to me.
Well, it's so simple in a way once you know.
Yeah.
It is what's calling you inside. It is the thing that you kind of navigate towards, that
Yeah.
you feel and you study. I mean, I've studied this my whole life.
Mhm.
Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's one of my greatest spiritual teachers, and I actually mention him inside my book. I read one of his books when I was 14,
Ooh,
you
wow.
know.
Yeah.
So then when I picked up another one of his books when I was 25, and then I started, you put all the pieces together. It's like the dots
Mhm.
that kind of fill in. And that's energy.
Yeah.
It is energy, which is for me very comforting and soothing to know that I call it like unseen forces that are here
Hmm.
to guide us when you tune in to the
Right.
energy in and around you. So that's why I love to teach it.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you want to really embody something, like you said, go teach it because it just grounds you in it, in the basics again. And it becomes part of you. It's second nature. So I love that you did
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about yoga a little bit. So I've done some yoga, just, more from the physical perspective of it, just keeping my body healthy, the stretching. I love it. And I had never, before we talked, heard of Kundalini Yoga. So can you tell
Mhm.
us how you got into that, what it's all about, why that style specifically? How does that play into your offer?
I mean, the interesting thing, as I said, the quote from Rumi, what you seek seeks you.
Mm.
When I was writing the book, things were kind of just unfolding and guiding me throughout the whole writing of the book. And then one day I tell this story I tell the story in my book as well. So I was in kind of like a healing and energy store where my cottage is in Huntsville. At the time, it was called the Love Tree. It's not called that anymore. And I was in there and there was music playing. And I remember kind of going like, oh my God, like, what is this? Like it
Mm.
was just resonating with me. And it actually happened that me and another woman at the same time like looked at each other and we're like, what is this? So we talked to the clerk and we ended up, I bought the CD, and it was various artists, Kundalini yoga
Mhm.
artists. So that was
Mm.
really how I started seeking it and looking at it. Kundalini yoga is the yoga of consciousness. It doesn't mean that you're not doing anything physical. It actually really works on the systems of the body. And it's
Mm.
all about energy. I mean, it's all about really kind of opening up the meridians in the body so that you can actually be in a more optimum state than you even understand.
Can you explain that though? You said meridians of the body. So for somebody who's not familiar with energy,
Yeah.
what does it mean to open up a meridian?
Well, you've heard of chakras.
Hmm.
Chakras. So it's just lines of energy, like energy moving through the body. There's chakras, which are energy centers, and then there are meridians. We're just
Mm.
like, it's almost like little highways of energy moving
Okay.
through the body. So the whole practice is really to kind of like get you to your body to be having the flow. So the thing about Kundalini Yoga is that it involves mantra, mudra, breath, sound. It's one of the yogas that a lot of yogas are just physical, but
Hmm.
all yogas will bring you to the state of oneness because you're working on angles. The angles that you work on in the body in other yogas, you're basically just opening up channels of energy. So then you get to a place, I don't know if you've ever had the experience where you go to a yoga class and you feel emotional,
Yeah.
you cry, and you're like, why? Because you're actually opening up energy. You're releasing energy, trauma, grief,
Hmm.
loss. So some people can't handle emotion and they have a hard time with it when actually, as human beings and energy beings, we're supposed to have time. And I know
Yeah.
you understand this because I know you recently were discussing grief on your podcast too.
Yeah.
And you really did a great job in just really like, this is here.
Hmm.
I'm embracing it. I'm going to do what my body needs to do. So you allowed the process of it instead of just going, nope, I'm going to go
Yeah.
and I'm going to get to work and
Right.
you were very conscious about it. So I thought that was like a
Mhm.
beautiful example of really kind of embracing it.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's funny because one day I was like, "Oh, I only cried twice today. I did good." And then I was like, "Why though? That's not me. That's not Karen's natural thought. That is society telling me that you shouldn't cry, that you should
Yes.
be fine. It's already been,
Mhm. Be
3
tough.
weeks. What's wrong with you? Get your ish together, like
Yeah,
that
be
kind of
tough, be
thing."
cool, because I
Yeah.
mean, we're turning these things upside down now in society. These are not the ways
Mhm.
for us to be human.
Right.
And if we don't work at releasing energy,
Mhm.
traumatic energy in the body, it piles up and
Mhm.
you end up in your nervous system usually kind of like shutting down because your
Yep.
body won't be able to handle it. And
Yep.
then you completely lose context with everything
Yeah.
because you're not really present. You can only be present when you're at your greatest
Mhm.
in terms of every cell functioning, properly. So that's the practice. The practice
Yeah.
is to do it, to continue. I call it returning to the light, from darkness to
Mhm.
light, from
Yeah.
lower levels of energy to higher levels of energy, from lower levels of consciousness to higher levels of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's just continuing to keep the balance so that you can, when the next thing comes along, you're able to have the capacity. And it doesn't mean that you don't have capacity because you're crying, laying on your bed crying. That is
Right.
actually strength
Mm-hmm.
and courage.
Yeah.
So, we're kind of trying to turn and change what people understand and believe about this.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of courage on Monday then because I think I cried until noon. And then I was like, okay, I have to put on my big girl pants and I'm going to put makeup on and I'm
Yeah.
going to go work at a coffee shop and I'm going to submit that dang TEDx app talk application because I'm letting this. I also want to get to that point where it's not consuming me either, right? So, like,
Yes,
having that
for sure.
balance and that awareness of like, okay, I gave myself plenty of time to grieve today. I leaned into all the courage. And now I do need to put some things back into place and function
Exactly.
in society.
And that's a really perfect balance, like that you're
Yeah,
actually, if you couldn't, it would mean that you couldn't.
right.
But the fact that you actually just said, okay, I've
Mhm.
allowed myself some time to grieve.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna, I think you said in a podcast too, I'm gonna do an interview.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take some of my calls today. That's okay because we need to kind of like show our body, our mind, and our spirit that I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm grounded. I did that. So it's almost like living in different worlds, but not dissociating. You're being very conscious about what you're doing. You're not just putting the pain over there and stuffing it. You're dealing with it, but you're also turning to deal with this remove yourself from it a little bit as
Thank,
well. It's perfect.
thank you. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad I'm on the right track, so
You're
it's
doing
good.
good.
You heard it from the trauma expert herself. I'm doing good.
I think you're doing really good.
Well, thank you. All right,
Yeah.
let's shift gears a little bit because I really want people to hear how you are helping your clients. And obviously, you just have already shared some of your expertise, but there's so
Mhm.
much more. And I know you've said you feel that the healing process is missing from today's society, and you believe that it's
Mhm.
contributing to the tragic events that play out in the world and the breakdown of our foundational relationships with ourselves and others. So, how so? Can you give
Mhm.
us an example? Can you paint this picture for us a little bit?
For example, if from a young age you had something traumatic happen or you were abused, we know now in the research and the science that as a child, you're not really in your full understanding, cognitive understanding. I mean, the brain doesn't really completely fully develop till at least 25.
Right.
So children are in a state from birth, well, even before birth, but birth to 8 years old, where you're literally just recording things. I mean, how could you do any
Mm,
different? You're
right.
when you're 1 or 2 years old, you're not going to go like, I don't want to do that. That's not right. You have no idea. So a lot of people won't go back to the past. And
Mm,
it's so simple. If you actually go back to the past, you look at the context of the past and you go, oh, that happened. So that idea of what I have about certain situations is actually, it doesn't have all the parts and pieces. What I
mhm.
really do is help people to gain the courage to really kind of like flip society's ideas on their back and just go, that's not how we do it anymore.
Mm,
We need to really look at ourselves. We need to know ourselves. I help people to do a self truth tune in.
mm,
In order to heal, you have to know and understand yourself. You have to be able to handle the context of your life. But what really stops people is shame and guilt. If you've been mistreated, and I talk about healthy shame because there is like, you should have shame, but then some
sure.
have too much shame. They have too much shame, which stops them from being able to like look at themselves. When someone has been abused, I mean, that is not your fault.
Right.
But a lot of people don't even get to that point to say that.
Hmm.
Or they say it because they just don't want, they don't want to deal with it. They want to shut it
Yeah.
down. So you got to be honest with yourself. But that really is a cornerstone in some of the work that I do because I help really cognitively to help people see themselves differently and the things that happen to them and recognize that it's not your fault. Things
Hmm.
will happen that are not right and not fair to you. And it's okay to say to yourself, that was not okay for me.
Yeah.
And it was not okay to do, but I didn't do that.
Mm,
That's not going to, I'm not going to allow this. I'm going to process it, but I'm not going to allow it to, change the trajectory of my life and who I am. We need to always kind of keep going back to those core values and principles. This is another issue. If you
hmm.
if you were brought up, like first of all, it's not something that's in parenting. Oh, let's make sure, there's so much information now in the media. Is there anything information that actually talks about values and principles? We have organizations and businesses, we have nursing professions and other professions that have their guiding principles. Well, what about the
Yeah.
guiding principles of being a parent and bringing children up into the world? So if you're a parent and you guide your children to not care about people and to be self-centered, and I mean, I when I did the course Self and Others, and it was teaching, I remember some of the students that I was teaching, like the concept of like others
Mm, right.
is not present. Like it's very about like me. I mean, I'm working on me, yes, work on you, but work on others too. So
Hmm.
growing in your compassion for yourself, but for other people, and
Right.
bringing the balance in that when we work together and when we can kind of balance our energies together in relationships and really kind of look at our core values, go back,
Mm,
do an evaluation and be honest with yourself and just say, well, I took on that one because of that. Well, but this isn't right. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not who I am. So those are some of the areas I feel there's a lot of blocks. And
yeah.
once people realize it and embrace it, they're like, oh, wow, it's like an
Freedom.
energy lift, and you just go like, okay, I got it. I got it.
Mhm.
I mean, to take on the load and the guilt of something that isn't yours
Right.
is one of the most pervasive. energies that is weighing people down in this world, but needing to take on what is yours and not taking on what is yours. That is
Yeah.
the problem. Where some people are like, I'm not going to take that on, but it is theirs, and other people are
Yeah.
taking it on and it isn't theirs. So
Sure.
there's a deep learning that has to happen for that.
Yeah, and how great that you can help guide them through that, right? So that they can actually examine those situations. I mean, this makes me think of one client that I had who was abused when she was a child. And I just remember when she was thinking about changing her corporate job. And so things were kind of rocky there. And she just took so much of that on. Like, it's my fault. I'm getting
Mhm.
punished. I didn't do something right. I wasn't strong enough. And I just hear this over and over again. It's like we take our trauma from our childhood and then we put it in the workplace. And then,
Yes.
like, everything that happens to us in the workplace, we make it all about us because it's so closely linked to that childhood experience.
And to some degree, you're going to have a level of attraction of it
Hmm.
because it is what you're resonating. It's the frequency that you're resonating. It doesn't mean that you're bad,
Yeah.
but those are the moments of learning. Everyone has their own.
Mm,
Like some people are the opposite. You got to know where you are on the spectrum and be honest with yourself and just say, I need to learn. This is my learning
sure.
because I want to kind of resonate at a level that doesn't attract that to me
Hmm.
as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. Okay. So you mentioned a little bit about values and guiding principles. And so, that obviously plays a very big role in our lives. How do we get into better alignment with our values, and our energy and make sure that that is all working together
Yeah.
for us?
Well, just like any profession or
Hmm.
business, there has to be like your brand. What is your brand and
Hmm.
what's your mission? What are your guiding? You have to do that as a person.
Yeah.
And we're not really taught that, but you have to really look at yourself. Like, is there something that I'm doing, that is causing problems? Is it me or is it them?
Hmm.
So this is where the honesty comes in. But a lot of people are afraid of making mistakes. They don't want to be wrong. They can't handle being wrong. They can't handle tuning in because the energy already within them, because of
Hmm.
the trauma and things that have happened, is just too high. they,
Yeah.
they don't even have the capacity to take on, but they don't even realize that you don't have to take on if you've been abused. You don't have to ever take on that energy again. And it's
Hmm.
so empowering. So helping people once again, with core values. I do say that in society, but as a parent, you have a responsibility. You look at your core values and you need to entrain and teach them to your child.
Hmm.
We do it automatically, but I do say that when we do things consciously, and if you care and you want to really look at it, you have an opportunity to change something and go, oh, geez, I kind of picked that thing up when I
Yeah.
was growing up because I was in that situation, or I was in this traumatic situation and it literally caused me to shut down. And then it caused me to do something,
Yeah.
approach things not the way I should be. I don't want to do that anymore. And I
Hmm.
definitely don't want to be passing this on to my children. So we become, the wisdom keepers and the people that really stop the generations, like the
Yeah.
repetition of generations kind of repeating things. It's up to the
Sure.
parent. But where do you teach the parent which values have? That's the big $1 million
Yeah.
question, right? So,
Right. I know there really is no parenting manual. It's wild. And even things that I heard growing up, like, oh, money doesn't grow on trees, like benign
mhm.
things. I
Yeah.
remember one year I told my mom I didn't want to dance anymore. Like, I didn't want to take certain classes. And she was like, why? And like, what happened? And finally I told her, I was like, well, I heard you and dad talking about money and this, that, the other. Like, I don't want to, like, I know my dancing's expensive and I'm doing all, and she's like, Karen, your $11 tap class that's a 30-minute class is not good. Like, that's
Was
not the
not
problem.
what we were talking about. And I
Exactly.
find that interesting that you're saying that too. As a child, your ability to cognitively understand everything is not there. So
Hmm.
you heard something, you were putting something together, and it was good that you actually communicated to your parent and said, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I heard you, and I don't want your mother corrected that.
Hmm.
It's not the tap dancing,
Right.
it's these other things, like so that you can go to tap dancing now and not feel guilty and not feel bad and get lost in doing your tap dancing. communication is just foundational. If you
Yeah.
can't communicate and you're not willing to sit and communicate, then everything is lost. Like what
Yeah.
can you do? Right.
Yeah.
So,
And now I'm just really conscious. Like I'll say things to my kids, or I'll hear my husband say something, and I'm like, "Don't, no!" Now he's going to compare himself to his brother. I'm like, "Don't put that on him." And I
yeah,
try to like catch these things, but sometimes it's like it's exhausting because you feel like you're constantly. Did I just? Is that going to traumatize him? Is he going to need therapy for in 30
yeah.
years because I said X, Y, Z? And
What I think you could do with that is just say, I mean, the fact that you actually care and you're actually worrying about that, no one is perfect. And
yeah,
every parent, I mean, if you think of even generations, there's going to be things that you do today because, oh, you read it, it was in social media, you thought it was the right
right,
way, and you will find out that it was maybe not. But if you
sure.
have a good relationship with your children, we're all forgiving. And when we become adults, your kids aren't going to go like, you're so bad because you told me. You're already communicating. You probably already told them, hey, that thing that I said when you were 13? I mean, there's new research out now, and this is what it is. So, there has to be that level of forgiveness and forgiving yourself, knowing that
Yeah.
you're conscientious and you care. Forgive yourself for those little things because that's just being human.
Mm.
It's good that you are being conscious and caring about what you are and worried that, oh, if I
Mhm.
do that, am I traumatizing them? You know.
Yeah. Ah, the second coin of forgiveness, right? It's not just us forgiving other people, it's forgiving ourselves too, right? And I
Yeah.
think we forget that sometimes.
I think in this world right now, like for your generation, I see a lot of parents like you're just so like, if I don't do this, if I don't do this, if there's so much out there for you to do, there's no way that you can accomplish it. I
Mhm.
always say that I was blessed in a time when I was just navigating parenthood through my instincts, through
Mm.
my intuition, which
Hmm.
was about love and caring. And so, did I have all the knowledge that was out there, that's out there today? No. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't. I wish we had a little bit more, but I'm glad that I didn't have that because I navigated things by the love from my heart,
Yeah.
for my children. So
I know now we
that's
almost have like
important.
too much knowledge, too many voices in our head telling us you should be doing
Mhm.
it this way, you should be doing it that way. And so it really is coming back to those values and grounding yourself in what's most
Mhm.
important to you and the way that you feel it should be done for your family.
And balance, the balance of all things.
Hmm.
I say, whatever you're doing, knowledge is good. Too much knowledge and not other things is not good. So you always have to be working at finding the perfect balance in things and knowing that you won't always be in perfect balance.
Hmm.
Nobody is. Nobody
Right.
is. Nobody. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
let's just, I know we touched on it for a second, the idea of the workplace trauma and stuff. I've
Mhm.
experienced, my clients have experienced it, but how do you recommend women deal with the kind of trauma that we've had in these workplace settings so that we can truly move forward?
The self-truth tune in,
Mm,
understanding the self, because when you do, you're going to be able to go, okay, well, I kind of did that. So
mhm,
I'm going to go back and I'm going to undo that thing and communicate about it. Or it's like, well, I didn't do that. I actually was the one that, reached out and tried to communicate. And I wasn't the one that did that thing. You have to deal with the context. But honestly, so when you know how to and you're trained how to really tune in, be honest, and you're not afraid of like saying, oh, shoot, I did that thing. Sorry. And I
right.
know that kind of caused this. Or there are situations, and I know you faced yourself, that there are certain situations, if you're being mistreated or abused, when you know yourself well enough, you're also going to know this is not okay.
Hmm.
You might be able to, and you're going to be able to evaluate, should I say something or should I not? No, I'm not. Actually, I'm not going to do that. That wouldn't be wise. You may talk to a higher up, but you're also going to work at knowing yourself and evaluating right down to like, am I staying here anymore? If higher ups and the vision and the mission and the values and the principles of the business aren't in line with respect for you as a woman, then you might have to leave. And it might be part of your journey to stand up to that and leave.
Hmm.
And energetically now, you're going to move you know, that lesson is kind of done. So don't see it as such a bad thing. It's like, no, I can't, no, I can't change anything here. I've asked
Yes.
people, I've communicated everything that I should do, and no one's willing to do that. So I have to make some other choices now. And I'm leaving because I don't deserve this treatment, and I don't deserve it. I'm not going to have it in my life. So then you change. So those are some ways, but I do say if we go back to the self-truth tune in, really knowing yourself, understanding and being able to get down to being honest with yourself so that you can really work energetically to shift. And maybe that experience won't come to you anymore.
Right.
Like once you get into this, you know, you leave or whatever, and you get the message because energetically the cells are listening. I truly believe the cells are listening. I mean, our body is so intelligent that you'll start to connect with other things and go, oh, wow. I mean, maybe it's not completely optimum, but it's way better. So you know that you've
Yeah.
grown, you know, so that's,
Sure.
and really doing the practice,
Hmm.
learn how to shift energy, traumatic energy from the body so that you can kind of keep yourself in a balance so that when those things do happen, you're going to be alert, intuitive, you're going to be strong, you're not going to take on what isn't yours. And maybe you might just say, hey, not okay.
Right.
You might, but you'll be very in tune to know what to do.
Yeah, for sure. And what I love about this is that it empowers us, right? So it's not saying,
Mhm.
because I think sometimes you could be listening to this and think, well, oh, is the blame coming on me now? Like, I got it, but it's not. It's
No,
actually
no, 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 no.
empowering you to say, look, there are things that someone else is doing to you. They don't align with your values. You can just stay here and continue to take this abuse, which would be traumatic and not helpful for you, or you can empower yourself and go, okay, I've done all the things. I've spoken up. I've set the boundaries, and they are still being crossed and nobody's doing anything about it.
Mhm.
Now I'm not helpless. I don't have to take this another
Mhm.
day. I'm going to take my power
Yeah,
back and I'm out, right? I'm going to go change the circumstances so I'm not
yeah.
here anymore.
And I think the whole thing of really tuning into you and the context of you and your past and all these things, it really helps to align you with to even know
Mhm.
that it's not me. Like to have the confidence to go, oh, you know what? I deserve that. Or that happened. It doesn't matter. I'll just move on. No,
Mhm.
no, no, no. It gives you the strength. That's why we do it. So it's okay to say, maybe I need to change some things. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we're here for. And part of your journey was to learn to not have people mistreat you. So it might mean that you do have to change something. It doesn't mean that you're bad or wrong. It means that you're growing and
Yeah.
evolving and becoming more powerful to prevent those things from happening again.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I know that you have created a very special 3-minute practice to help us program our low frequency energy. And I just want to turn the mic over to you and have you guide us through this experience.
So thank you. And I'm
Yes.
gonna, for what I do, it's going to be a guided teaching in the moment and bring it home and keep working on it.
Mm.
Okay.
Yep.
Because one of the first things that I would get people to do is to close their eyes if they
Mm.
can, to be in a
Sure.
comfortable space. Some people can't close their eyes. And if you can't close your eyes, there's a reason why. And those are things that we can help work on and solve. It's energetically, there's a reason. So be okay with that too. And just really start to tune into your breath. And this is an experience and evaluation of the self without judgment and without shame and without guilt. That it's okay if my breath is not perfect and completely the rhythm is deep and, completely in a perfect rhythm. How about my breath is shallow? My breath is, the rhythm is very off. I'm deep breath in some moments. I feel constriction in my lungs. When we just begin to tune into ourselves honestly, there's a lot going on in the body and a lot going on energetically for processing. We're allowing ourselves to be and feel what we're supposed to feel. We live in a world that teaches us not to feel anything. It's okay to feel. and let's get comfortable with that. So I would do that, like take time outside of the office or the workplace. You want to do this first. You want to really get comfortable with evaluating the breath, not forcing it. Remember, this breath is your automatic breath. It's not your conscious breath. And once you spend some time doing that, evaluating where am I? It's short, it's long, it's deep, it's shallow. It's, the rhythm is really off and irregular. Then we could look energetically to really kind of look at this is where you're at. You're in a little bit of shutdown. You're really shallow and slow. You're in fight or flight. It's very rapid and shallow. Maybe if it's too slow, you could be literally disconnected and dissociated. Your nervous system has shut down, which also means that your brain functions shut down. Just be okay with where you are. Then we're going to move into the practice where you're going to consciously breathe. When we sit in the practice and we consciously breathe, we decide how we're breathing, and we're in the practice of it so that we can get better at it. We learn to entrain it so it becomes more automatic. So it is present for us in our day. So if you're breathing in through the nose, I want you to do a diaphragmatic breath. But you're going to breathe in through the nose. And as you do that, you're going to expand your belly, expand your chest, and then expand up to your shoulders in that order. Okay. So you're inhaling as best as you can, 6 to 11 seconds if you can. If you can't do 11, no problem. Work at it and get better at it to do it longer. So you're inhaling through the nose, expanding the belly, expanding all the way up to the shoulders. And then when you get there, you're going to retain the breath in without pressure. Don't sit and hold the breath like hard in you. Allow it just to be an exchange within you. And then when you're ready, you're going to exhale and through the nose. And there's a reason why we go in and out the nose. So you're going to exhale. And in reverse, you're going to contract and take the oxygen and the energy and the breath out of you. So you're going to contract the shoulders, contract the chest, and contract the belly to get the breath out. Once you have the breath out, you also have a pause where you retain the breath out. Okay. You just repeat this pattern and trying to say, oh, I'm going to do each for 6, like 6 in, 6 hold, 6 exhale, 6 retain out. And be okay if you're all over the place and you can't do it at the beginning, because that's what in training and practice is. But the greatest thing about, the energy of the body within us and the breath alone can change everything. Mm. It literally can bring you into a state, into your parasympathetic nervous system. The one thing that the breath could do too, like if you're doing the breath and you start to feel emotional, remember, if you're feeling emotional, you're probably more in a shutdown and freeze, and that energy is blocked. So you have to be willing to go through the discomfort, the tears, the anxiety, whatever it is, and then allow it to discharge from the body. Give it some time to discharge so that you can regulate your nervous system again. When we're regulated in the parasympathetic nervous system, which the breath can do and this breath can do, if you practice it, it will entrain. It sends messages to the heart, to the brain, to the nervous system, and then to every cell, to everything's okay. We're all okay here. Mm-hmm. And what's going to happen? You're going to come out of fight or flight. You're going to come out of a shutdown brain. You're going to have more capacity in your nervous system and in your brain and coherence in the body to look at whatever situation you're dealing with in a greater light. And you're also having this opportunity. This is where I say the state that I like to bring people to, this greater state. And the breath alone can do it. And I do other things like with mantras and stuff like that too, sound vibration. Once you're there, you have an ability within you to actually be greater than you ever thought that you could be, to achieve things beyond your belief, to actually have like intuition that guides things, to connect with energy that is there, the unseen forces that come to your aid. I mean, that's a beautiful place to be.
Sure.
We can't be there. We can't be there like you see out in society too. Like that, I'm there all the time. I've connected with people. It's like, oh, you're a yogi from India. That's what they actually told me. But no one can sustain that. Like that's not being human. It's pushing away and not allowing. We do need to gain strength in our nervous system and capacity. And these are the way so that we can actually hold space in each of those nervous systems, because we will be in all of them in moments of our life.
And so just do this breath that you say 3 minutes is a good time frame.
I would say if you really wanted to get committed and think about it, 11 minutes of your day, you could do 11 minutes twice a day.
Yeah.
Use it as you're laying in bed trying to go to sleep. It's going to help you to sleep. It's going to help to turn down things, bring you into a better state in your mind so that you can. But if you can't do that, do it for 3 minutes.
Start somewhere, right?
You have to start.
Yeah.
Like you can't expect that your breath and things are going to shift and change. Your nervous system's going to change. Your brain's going to come more fully online if you don't do it.
Right.
I mean, it's just not going to happen. So being consciously taking the time is what I say. Like the minute you consciously, this is quantum physics. The minute you consciously say, I'm doing this, I'm sitting down and I'm doing this, and I'm going to honor it and the science behind it, and I'm going to trust and know and let it go. Just let it go and take note of the things that happen. I say that in my book. Just start taking notes.
Yeah.
It's magical. We need this ability. We need this strength for the challenges that we meet up with in life. And we need to be able to hold space for all of it. We need to be able to hold space for the discomfort and the loss and the traumatic energy that needs to make its way out of us, which is not always comfortable.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for sharing that breathing practice with us as well. I always ask my guests at the end if you could say one thing to the woman listening who knows she wants to make a change but doesn't know how to get started. What would you say?
I would say learn to understand yourself as an energy being. Honestly, it's been the greatest power of my life because you will connect with purpose and your purpose will motivate you. That's one way to help you. It will guide you. There's nothing greater than doing work that you know that you're in the right direction.
Yeah.
When you're doing it and you don't even know, to know is just powerful. And just as I've heard you talk about, like in your book and on your podcast, like you definitely have to take action. And don't be afraid that you're wrong. Just get started.
Yeah. Get the experience.
You have to start. And whatever happens, if it doesn't work out, if there's, oh, geez, that didn't work out, that's okay. It's all part of the learning, getting comfortable with like, yeah, I did that. Ugh. I mean, how many times have you gotten up? A million times, I say, in my life. Oh, I tried that. That didn't work. Where did you start, on your journey?
Right.
Oh my goodness, so many things that you try until you get it. You get there, so.
Brilliant. Thank you for being here today and taking time to be with us and share this practice and your great work. If someone is interested in releasing their trauma, how can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram, mostly. Just find me energy secrets _energy secrets on Instagram. They can DM me on Instagram. They can email me at realbeautiful@icloud.com. They can go to my website if they want to for some I have a blog there. I also have a free waterfall meditation. It's when you sign up for it, like you join to sign up for it, it's a bit of an older audio. Just move it forward to get to the waterfall meditation because it's beautiful. You also get a heart that you can download. And I say sparkle it, like put sparkles on it and let it be that reminder to you of returning to the light, continuing to return to the light. So those are ways in which people can reach me. They can check out my book on Amazon, Real Beautiful, The Secret Energy of the Mind, Body, and Spirit. I say that it's a wonderful way to really understand yourself as an energy being so that you can go deeper and dial in to really address the traumas of your life.
Perfect. Well, we'll put that stuff in the show notes so people can just click to find you and get in touch. And we're just so appreciative of sharing this wisdom with us today. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Karen.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to meet you too.
Yes, so finally face to face.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're inspired to take action by committing to one of the tips or strategies we talked about in today's episode. If you want more accountability and support, I've got your back. Book a complimentary Empowered Exit Strategy call today. Visit KarenFreeland.com to learn more and book your 45-minute session. Until next time, stay fabulous.